Let's continue part about routing FortiGate preparation for NSE4 exam. Priority. Priority is a T breaker for ECMP static routes. ECMP is equal distance, equal priority duplicate routes. All ECMP routes are installed in the routing table. The lower the priority, the higher the preference. Best route is used during route lookup. Applies to all before 7.2 to static routes only. Now it applies to all routes. Default value 1. It is hard-coded on all routes except static and BGP border gateway protocol routes. So in Cisco, for example, you can change administrative distance, but in FortiGate, you can change priority, Fortinet priority. The priority attribute applies to which type of routes? It is applied to static routes. Which routes are installed in routing table? Best active routes are installed in routing table. ECMP, equal cost multipath routing. ECMP, equal cost multipath routing, is a routing strategy where next hop packet forwarding to a single destination can occur over multiple best paths, which tie for top place in routing metric calculations. So in Cisco, load balancing between ECMP paths is performed on iOS XE based CEF object called load balance. But here in the same protocol routes with equal destination subnet, distance, metric, and priority, ECMP equal cost multipath routing routes they are installed in RIB routing information database, and traffic is load balanced among the routes. ECMP load balancing algorithms for static routes. First, source IP is default. Session sourced from the source address use the same route. Source destination IP. Source IP and destination IP pair is used for the same route. Weighted. Weighted applies to static routes only. Sessions are distributed based on route or interface weights. The higher the weight, the more sessions are routed through selected route. Usage. Spillover. One route is used until the bandwidth threshold is reached. Then the next route is used. Configuring ECMP. If SD-WAN is disabled, the ECMP algorithm is set on the CLI command line interface. And here we type command config system settings, set v4 ECMP mode, and then you put source IP based. Weight based or usage based, you can choose, is it source IP based weight-based or usage-based. And then you put end. Configure weight values on the CLI on the interface level. Config system interface, edit interface name, set weight from 0 to 255, then next, and route level config router static, edit ID, set weight from 0 to 255, next, end. So in Cisco on BGP interface, you can set it up through route maps. And here, local preference is dispersed for the whole autonomic system. AS path, autonomous system path, BGP route selection criteria is first weight. So we provided like administrative distance, then local preference, the higher local preference, so it's more preferable. Then 3, less number of AS path. 4, lowest original code, lowest multi-exit discriminator. eBGP is preferable over iBGP. So external, as you remember, they have lower administrative distance rather than internal BGP, iBGP. Then we choose like the most oldest route. Then we choose the neighbor with the lowest router ID. Then we choose the router with the lowest IP. This is how we choose a route. If there are multiple routes with the same parameters, there is a really long list. You can check how you choose these preferences, and the same approach applies to Fortinet. And for ECMP cost multipath routing, we can also configure spillover thresholds on the CLI. And configuration system interface, edit. Then we put interface name, set spillover threshold, set ingress spillover threshold, next, end. Get router info routing table all. So for example, when we see description of the what we receive from this command, get router info routing table, we can see name, for example, S for static. We can see their administrative distance, for example 10/0 is distance, and then we can see at the end 5/0, 5 is priority. SD-WAN, software-defined approach to steer WAN traffic using a collection of FortiOS features, flexible user-defined rules, protocol and service-based traffic matching, application awareness, dynamic link selection, controls egress traffic that comes out from you, controls egress traffic. Secure SD-WAN, built-in security. Benefits are effective wide area network usage, improved application performance, and reduces cost over low-cost links. For example, MPLS links are more expensive and for critical services only, for example, for data centers. The most commonly used case for SD-WAN is DIA. DIA is a direct internet access with SD-WAN. Traffic steered across multiple internet links. Typical operation: critical, sensitive traffic expedited and steered over best performing links. Costly links used for critical traffic and failover. Static default routing. SD-WAN rules. Define steering rules based on matching traffic criteria, member preference, and member performance. Evaluated from top to bottom. Firewall policy is required. Implicit rule. Use if user-defined rules are not matched. Usually, traffic is load balanced. SD-WAN rules are policy routes. Route-based lookup order. Regular policy routes first. Second, ISDB routes. Third, SD-WAN routes. Four, FIB routes, forwarding information base routes. System settings algorithm versus implicit rule algorithm. Both V4 ECMP mode and load balanced mode control the ECMP algorithm. Load balanced mode replaces ECMP mode when SD-WAN is enabled. So, load balanced mode supports the volume algorithm and ECMP mode doesn't. Load balanced mode uses weight-defined user the SD-WAN member configuration, and V4 ECMP mode is weight-defined in static route. Load balanced mode uses the spillover thresholds defined under the SD-WAN member configuration. V4 ECMP mode, the spillover threshold in the interface settings. Volume algorithm, VA. FortiGate tracks the cumulative number of bytes of the member. The higher the member weight, the higher the target volume, and more traffic is sent on it. RPF, reverse path forwarding. IP anti-spoofing protection. Source IP is checked for a return path. RPF checks is only carried out on the first packet in the session, not reply. There are two modes. First is feasible path, is default. Formally, return path doesn't have to be the best one. And second mode is strict. Return path must be the best route. If RPF, reverse path forwarding, fails, the backflow shows reverse path check fail, drop. Set RPF mode. Default means disable. Config system settings. Set strict SRC check, then we put strict mode, and to disable RPF, reverse path forwarding, we put config system interface, edit interface, set CRC check, next, and RPF feasible path. FortiGate checks for a route matching source address and incoming interface. Get router into routing table all. For user B, add a second static default route with the same distance through than WAN 2. For user C, add a static route to the network through port 1. There are different commands how we do it. So if we want to add a default route with the same distance, we put, for example, static route. First we put distance as 10/0 via, then we put IP address, for example, 10.0.2.254, WAN 2, and then we put priority 5/0, S 10.0.4.0/24, then we put distance 10 metric 0 via 10.0.3.254. Priority here is 1/0. 0 is wait, priority is 1. RPF strict mode. FortiGate also checks if the return path is the best route. So when we put the command get router info routing table all, we can see the whole list of the paths, not only the best paths, and the best route to the command, for example, 10.250.1.62 through WAN 1 is default route. User B, fail, best route to 10.175.3.69 through WAN 1. It shows like 10.175.3.0/24 via 10.0.1.254 WAN 1. 1 is priority, 0 is metric. User C passed best route to 10.0.4.3 through port 1. We put static S 10.0.4./24, 10.0, 10 is distance, 0 is metric, via 10.0.3.254, port 1. 1 is priority, 0 is wait. Then, what is the default RPF check method on FortiGate? Default RPF method is feasible path. Which route lookup scenario satisfies the RPF checks for a packet? Routing table has a route for the source IP of the packet through the incoming interface.